Good afternoon. Welcome. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, September 20th, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper?
Here.
Ms. Etzel? Mr. Jensen?
Present.
Mayor Abu-Asley?
Here.
Ms. Gedalia?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Mr. Sternad?
Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, just a couple of announcements before we begin the meeting. We are starting today at 4 o'clock, and the reason for that is one of our former mayor, Vic Kloffenstein, is being honored for his lifetime achievements at an event tonight, and several council members wanted to attend, thought that the city should be represented. And so we had a concern with having enough people to have a meeting with one council member already missing. So this has been advertised in the Times, on the website, by social media. We announced it at the last meeting, at the end of the last meeting. So that is the reasoning for that. Similarly, on Tuesday at the work session, we had a special agenda where several items were voted on. And that was for similar reasons. We at the prior meeting, they weren't taken up for discussion and voting because we had a missing council member and another council member was ill, and we have several people who have to abstain on those votes, and so again we wouldn't have been able to take the votes. They were put on a special agenda that was publicized for Tuesday. And it was a time-sensitive matter, so this is a very unusual circumstance, but wanted to just get that out there as to why that was that way. So, again, welcome to the meeting. Have another special announcement. Last Thursday, several of us had the honor of representing the city in Council Bluffs, Iowa, for the state conference of the Iowa League of Cities, and the city of Marion received this recognition, which is the All-Star Community Award. Marion is in the large city category, so that's something to be very proud of, that we have won that award 2 years in a row. This year we were honored for the Uptown Artway. So a number of us from city staff, council, Chamber of Commerce, we all went and received the award on behalf of the city. So job well done to everyone involved, and thank you. This will be placed with all our other awards on our recognition wall out in the lobby. So, okay, proceeding with the agenda. Mr. Brandt.
Do you do the public forum first?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Still getting used to this new format. Before we have the consent agenda, we have a time for comments from the public on any topic that is listed on the consent agenda. Because the consent agenda is voted on as a group, this gives individuals a chance to comment on any of those items since they will not be discussed individually. So if anyone has any comments on anything on the consent agenda, please come forward. Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll move on with the consent agenda.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as follows. There'll be items A1 through F4 with resolutions 27144 through 27158.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes items A1 through F4, or resolutions 27144 through 27158. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. The next section, I will pass the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu Asali's abstention. And this will cover items A1 through G2, which would include resolutions 27159 through 27164.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Will. Any discussion on these items? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstaining?
Yep, abstaining.
Okay.
Okay.
Relinquish the gavel back
No.
to the mayor? No?
Yeah, so the next item,
Oh,
the next item is a hearing regarding a notice of alcohol violation by Chibo Fusion, and I will not participate in that because of familial relationship with the owners. So Mayor Pro Tem will take care of it.
okay, so we're moving on to item A1, the hearing. Do you start that off for us, Kara, or how do we?
Yes, I believe that Sergeant Hartwig is here.
Terrific.
Well, I don't know. I thought Chief McHale would be here, so I was here. He wanted me here just in case something came up. He had questions from me. I was the officer that coordinated the 2 alcohol compliance checks in June of this year and December of last year. So where we go from here and what you need from me at this point, I'm uncertain of. I was just asked to be here in case there's some questions that arose. It was my understanding that Chief would be here, so my apologies on that. I didn't know I'd be speaking or bringing this up until right now. So I just need to know what else you would need from me on this.
What's our typical protocol? Do they run through the specific incident?
Yes, just
Okay.
in general, we would ask generally it would be Chief McHale, but since he's not here, we'll ask Sergeant Hartwig just to give us a brief rundown of the date, time, and general facts of the case.
I can do that. So back in December 19th of last year, I did a compliance check, and one of the establishments checked was Chibo Fusion. I had 2 underage females helping me with the compliance check. They went in, and one of the females ordered a beer, and that female was not carded by the male bartender at that time. And what they did then, they would notify me that this occurred. I went in, and I ultimately cited this male for supplying alcohol to a minor. This was all captured on a key fob recorder, audio and video. In the second compliance check back in June, June 19th of this year, I did another compliance check. Chibo was checked also again. This time I had 1 male underage. He went in, met with the female bartender. The bartender asked for his ID. She looked at the ID, and after checking the ID, went ahead and served the minor alcohol. After I went in and was notified that this occurred, I asked her what happened. She said she just added wrong. If you need more details on this, as far as names or times, I can definitely look through my notes and cover that. I don't know if you want the names of the 2 bartenders. Any other information you need, I'll be more than happy to give that out.
Do we typically have that for the record said publicly, or is that not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary to have the names on the record. I think just a brief statement of the facts.
Okay. So the license was a legitimate license, but the person was underage based on their birth date? Is that?
That is correct. So before we do a compliance check, we take a photo of the individual, the underage individual doing this, their real driver's license that shows their true date of birth, their true age. We make sure they have no other IDs on them, provide them with some money, and make sure they don't have any other money. We photo the money that we're using and cover all that. So the ID that the individual, they both had their IDs, but the first time they weren't asked for an ID. The second one they were, and the subject did provide his true identification correct. And so what happens with the violations under the Iowa Code for criminal and civil penalties for supplying alcohol to a minor? For first violation, the civil penalty is a $500 fine to the business. A second violation within 2 years is a 30-day suspension and a civil penalty in the amount of $1,500, which is where we're currently at for Chibo. And then a third violation in 3 years is a 60-day suspension, a $1,500 fine. And then a fourth violation within the 3 years is revocation of the permit.
Okay, and we're at the second, correct?
That is correct.
Will, did you have something?
Just out of curiosity, is it still in the state of Iowa, if you're under 21, do you have the license
Yes, it's
turn the other
vertical.
direction? Vertical, yeah.
So if you're under 21, it's vertical, and at the top it says under 21 until, and it gives a date.
And is that how his license was?
Yes, it was.
In June, okay.
Correct.
Did not know that we did that.
I didn't know that either.
I'm so beyond 21 that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I've got nobody I'm carding
Right.
to look at that, so I would not know that. I did not know that either. So from that standpoint, for what Will is talking about, even without having to look at the date and do your math, just by looking at the license, it's very evident, the vertical versus the horizontal.
That is correct, sir. But someone could have that ID, and they could have had that, and then since then turned 21 before they went and got their new ID, which would be horizontal.
Right.
But in most cases, yes, that's how
In this
it's printed.
case, that was not the situation. These were
Correct.
clearly under 21 at the time and done it.
Yes, this male was 19, and he still had a vertical ID.
How frequent is it that we've seen establishments have two instances where similar to what we're talking about tonight?
I don't have that information available right now.
Okay.
I've just been doing this for a couple years, and this is the first time I've run into that since I was running the compliance checks.
Well, and within 7 months, unfortunately,
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for Sergeant Hartwig?
No.
And then, do we ask, is someone here from Chibo to speak? Okay. Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Sergeant.
thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't know I was going to be speaking. So thank you.
I
Thanks for
think
your
we
time.
got everything we needed. Thank you. Okay, I believe you can come up if you'd please state your name and address for the record and that you're representing Chibo. I think that'd be a great start.
My name is Rachel Sutcliffe. I am the general manager of Chibo Fusion Restaurant and Lounge, and I actually did prepare for this meeting, and I have a open letter that I wrote on behalf of Chibo, and I can give a copy of it to the council members here and the city attorney. Forgive me, I'm in a little pain today, so it's going to take me a minute to pass them out.
I think our fire chief's going to help you out if you want to. Yes. Thanks, Deb.
I'll just go ahead and get started, though. Dear City Council members, again, my name is Rachel Sutcliffe, and I am the General Manager of Chibo Fusion Restaurant and Lounge. The reason for my open letter to you today, as you may deduce from my presence, is in reference to a recent Iowa Code 123.49H violation charge, and to urge members of Marion City Council to respectfully consider all facts and factors while reviewing this particular Iowa Code 123.49H violation case. Foremost, on behalf of Chibo, I would like to thank the City of Marion Police Department and the hardworking men and women the City of Marion employs to keep our community safe. Within the last few years, an intoxicated individual came into our venue attempting to purchase a drink. After being refused the purchase under such conditions, this same individual began to cause a scene and then refused to leave. Management called the local authorities. They were prompt to arrive and handled the situation professionally while also being discreet and sensitive as to not disturb our other guests. This is an instance where Chibo and the City of Marion work together to ensure the responsible selling of alcohol, and we have been earnest in our attempt to maintain this positive relationship. Since our first violation within this last year, and we hadn't had one for several years, I'll note, Chibo conducted an extensive retraining program as well as provided educational materials for staff. Here are some of the many measures Chibo has taken to ensure, within our means, the responsible selling of alcohol to patrons. Requiring all front-of-house staff to be IPAC certified. Educational memos all front-of-house staff are required to read and acknowledge with signature. Signage posted at the bar informing guests we ID under 35. Age calendars located at the bar and at applicable server stations. Surveillance conducted by management on the floor and on-the-spot coaching. Point-of-sale prompts via our POS system, reminding staff to serve responsibly. Our first violation charge was humiliating to us, as we take, just as the City of Marion takes, the responsible selling of alcohol to patrons very seriously. We did not contest, we paid the fine, and the employee in question underwent corrective discipline, along with Chibo taking proactive action to ensure a violation of the Iowa Code does not happen again. Suffice it to say, our second violation charge within this same year has raised concern. And furthermore, according to the language of Iowa Code 123.49H, Chibo is not in violation of Iowa Code 123.49H. Included in this open letter is an outline and a breakdown of the circumstances surrounding our second violation charge. Adequate review of this material is crucial, as Chibo is a full-service restaurant and our guests, including those with pre-scheduled larger groups, rely on Chibo to offer all services available to entertain them and their families, colleagues, and friends. A second violation charge may result in our business being shut down. Our proximity to Cedar Rapids and our location off 7th Street as First Avenue ends proximates us to many individuals as their first impression of Marion. Not only do our guests expect a full-service experience, our guests often come to management and staff with requests for information about the City of Marion and surrounding area. Chibo plays a significant role in informing our community members and those visiting or passing through the area of local attractions, local history, and what the city has to offer. In addition to contributing to our local communities as ambassadors to Marion and through local donations of food and gift certificates whenever we can, Chibo also serves as a reliable employer for many members of our community. I can speak from personal experience, as I am a disabled veteran, and the owners of Chibo gave me the opportunity of meaningful work and single-handedly helped with my transition into civilian life. Recently, we employed another military veteran at risk of homelessness. We also employ a single mother with children, 3 working fathers as the primary income source for their families, and several independent students struggling to pay basic expenses while obtaining a college degree in the hopes of better securing their futures, in addition to many others relying on consistent work. A potential shutdown will cause undue and unnecessary harm and will do little to accomplish the mission of ensuring local businesses responsibly serve alcohol to patrons. Which leads me to question, what does it mean to have a successful sting? To raise awareness, to ensure all venues are IDing guests, to, as rumor and reputation of several Iowa cities and towns suggest, solely obtain a monetary gain. The last objective, and let's hope it's not relevant here, results, as most stringent monetary objectives do, in heartless consequences that they do more harm to the community than improve it. I'm confident that after review of enclosed material, members of Marion City Council will agree that Chibo's particular violation case warrants a closer look on whether a violation even took place, and potentially a broader discussion on all cases and future handlings pertaining to Iowa Code 123.49H. Thank you kindly for your attention, time, and service to Marion, and I'll move on and I'll read employee's statement that's also included in this packet. Our employee states, "I was working behind the bar, and a gentleman came in and sat at the bar. He asked for a 16-ounce Coors Light. I asked him if he wanted a glass, and he said sure. He was wearing a t-shirt and shorts and a wedding ring. Even though he was knowledgeable about how many ounces were in the bottle of Coors Light and was wearing a wedding ring, I asked to see his ID. It was a horizontally pictured ID, so I added the date in my head, and I calculated his age at that time to be 21 and set the drink in front of him. The gentleman immediately left the bar and walked out the door. About 5 minutes later, a police officer came in and pulled me aside and informed me that the gentleman I served was only 19 years old. I explained to him and asked him that I explained to him that I asked him for his ID and I checked the date and must have miscalculated. After this, I took the online course for IPAC certification and now know that there is a red box on the ID that would have told me when he turned 21 instead of adding the dates. I don't remember that being there when I initially read the ID. I initially pled not guilty, as I believed that since I carded him and calculated him to be of age, I had done my due diligence. When I went to court, the court date, the county attorney advised me that he was not willing to drop the case, nor would there be a reduced fine because it was a scheduled offense. He went and spoke to the police officer and the gentleman to give me time to decide if I wanted to plead guilty or if I wanted to take it in front of the judge. He came back and told me that the gentleman was wearing a promise ring and it was not a wedding ring, and that at that time I decided to plead guilty and take the $750 fine instead of adding on a subpoena fee, of which he advised me of at that time would have been an additional $300 to take the case in front of the judge. I asked the county attorney to not penalize Chibo, as I believe that I had done my due diligence, and she dated and signed it. I'll move on, and I'll actually read the code 123.49H2U. A person or club holding a liquor, control license, or retail wine or beer permit under this chapter, and the persons or clubs, agents, or employees shall not do any of the following: sell, give, or otherwise supply any alcoholic beverage, wine, or beer to any person, knowing or failing to exercise reasonable care to ascertain whether the person is under legal age, or permit any person, knowing or failing to exercise reasonable care to ascertain whether this person is under legal age, to consume any alcoholic beverage, wine, or beer. Our employee did not know the guest was under the legal age to buy, receive, be supplied with, or consume any alcoholic beverage, wine, or beer. The guest appeared to be wearing a wedding ring, which is not ordinary of someone under the legal age, nor is a promise ring, as later identified by guest, ordinary of someone under the legal age. I did some research here on the internet. As outlined on Mount Jeweler's website out of Pennsylvania, although it's not typical, there's nothing that says women can't give their boyfriends a promise ring. If you do decide to break the norm and give your boyfriend a promise ring, and it goes on. The most recent and most local publication we could find regarding the popularity of promise rings dates all the way back to 2010 and further confirms the lack of popularity. Iowa State Daily reports, Gilger said his store doesn't really sell that many promise rings. Marshak agreed that promise rings aren't as popular at Ames Silversmithing either. You don't see promise rings as much as you used to, she said. When I was in high school, it was important to have one, but that was 12 years ago. Now you don't see them as much anymore. This suggests a brief popularity in the 90s, as also suggested by various sites upon a simple Google search. And even within brief spurts of popularity, it's not ordinary for the male partner to be wearing one as outlined above. The guest exercised extensive knowledge of beer and how beer is served by stating to trained employee, I like a 16-ounce glass of Bud Light. I apologize for the typo. It was a Coors Light, which is also not ordinary of someone under the legal age, to exemplify that knowledge. Employee asked guest for identification and determined guest was of legal age. After examining driver's license and calculating guest age by date of birth, employee read on the driver's license. I tried to look up what this meant, knowing or know or to know, and I found in Chapter 51 Iowa Code of Judicial Conduct that it means actual knowledge of the fact in question, and a person's knowledge may be inferred from circumstances. Our employee did exercise reasonable care, as trained, to ascertain whether guest was under legal age to buy, receive, be supplied with, or consume any alcoholic beverage, wine, or beer. Employee, as trained, assessed the guest's attire, demeanor, and verbiage, and determined based on the guest's attire, demeanor, and verbiage that guest was of legal age. Employee took an additional precaution, as trained, and asked guest to verify age via driver's license, and determined after examining identification and performing mental math from guest's date of birth on driver's license that the guest was of legal age. The guest's attire, demeanor, verbiage all contributed to the circumstances that influenced our employee to miscalculate the age of the guest and therefore influenced our employee's knowledge of the age of the guest. I'll go on and I'll share with you what I found in the State of Iowa's ABD book, Enforcing Iowa's Alcoholic Beverage Laws, a law enforcement officer's guide to regulation, compliance, and enforcement in Iowa's alcoholic beverages industry, also referred to as the Black Book. These are just excerpts from it, and then I'm almost done here. Iowa's alcoholic beverages industry operates within the confines of a carefully cast partnership between the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division, licensees, and law enforcement officials. Close cooperation among these entities is essential for regulation and enforcement of Iowa's alcoholic beverages laws in order to achieve compliance. under their section misrepresenting age. It is unlawful for minors to misrepresent their age for the purpose of purchasing or attempting to purchase alcoholic beverages from an alcoholic beverage licensee or permittee. When licensees, their employees and agents are charged with a sale to minor violation, a defense to the charge is available to them if the minor who made the purchase misrepresented their age and the licensee made a reasonable inquiry to determine if the purchaser was of legal age. There's some more in there. I'll skip over it. Under controlled buys, which is what it was, a sting operation. When appropriately conducted, controlled buys are an effective method of monitoring compliance with Iowa's legal drinking age. Many law enforcement agencies engage underage people who attempt to purchase alcoholic beverages from licensees to see if proper identification is requested before the sale is completed. And this part's really important. Success of a controlled buy program relies on an establishment complying with the law rather than a minor purchasing alcohol. Following are some recommendations which may be helpful to law enforcement officials in the court cases and administrative hearings which may result from their controlled buy operations. I highlighted what I felt to be the most important part. The minor should have the appearance, demeanor, mannerisms, and dress appropriate to their age group. And there's a few more things I quoted out of there. I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Does anyone have anything for Rachel? Steve?
First comment I would make is you came very well prepared, so I'll give you kudos for that. I think it does raise some follow-up questions maybe for the sergeant as far as how the dress of the individual was determined. Did they suggest any dress? It seems that if any minor is going into a place and wants to get a beer as an underage person, that person is always going to try to look a little older than they are. I mean, they're not going to come in, really inappropriately dressed as a younger person. They're going to try to look older. So one question I would have for the officer is, was there anything done as far as suggesting the dress of the individual? I don't give any credence to the promise ring. I think that's just not an issue I would look at as far as a reason why you would serve somebody because they had a promise ring that may look like a wedding band.
Yeah.
So on this second case in which she's speaking of, the 19-year-old male, his name was Lance. What we do is when I speak to them, when I find people or when we find people to do these types of compliance checks, we speak to them beforehand and let them know. We do bring up the ABD code of dressing and things like that. We tell them we don't want to get dressed up and try to look older or anything like that. So on this situation, on this date and time, I have reported here in my report, Lance wore blue jeans, a blue V-neck T-shirt, and tennis shoes. So that's what he wore. I'm working on contacting someone at the police department right now to see if we can get a photo. I took photos of him that evening, also of his ID. And so if you, Counsel, if you'd like to see that, I'm working on that right now. Okay. So if we can get that, I will provide that. I do not recall if he had a ring on or not.
I do have a question because in the one write-up or the statement by Misty, at the top she had a comment saying the ID was a horizontally pictured ID.
Yeah,
so does that help me out with that description on why she's making that statement when it should be vertical?
Yeah, what I recall, it was vertical, and that's what I'm working on, is getting a picture of what he wore that day, his photo of him, and also the ID, and we'll confirm that.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I too had circled that, and that's of interest to me. The attire, the promise ring, none of that is. It's all pretty subjective, but I think it would be good to get clarification if you're able to in terms of how the idea is pictured, just from that simple fact that if it was horizontal and it was his real ID, I don't see how that's possible. So that would be great to
I'll get that confirmation for you, ma'am.
That'd be good. Anyone else have anything at this time? Will?
I'll just say I think it's black and white. You ask for an ID, they show it to you, you're underage. Sure, you added wrong. It says right here in her letter that they've got age calendars at the bar, so you can look at an ID, look at the age calendar, and know if it's someone's of age or not. So in my mind, it's black and white. You served an underage individual, you got caught, it's your second offense, state law. This is what the state law is.
And on this situation, I recall once I went in there and I told her who I was, why I was there, and that she had just served a 19-year-old individual alcohol. And she said, no, his date of birth is 99. And I said, correct. And make him, it was 99 or 98, whatever it was. It was 19. It was 99, so make him 19. And she went back and looked. She had to go a little ways away from the bar where I was speaking to her at. She said, oh, it's 97. So there was a calendar, not right next to the register where I was speaking to her at, but kind of around the corner. So she did go look at this calendar. And that's when she stated, I added wrong. I thought it was 99, but it's 97.
And just to clarify, he wasn't asked his age, correct? He just was asked for ID and provided it?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, the only discrepancy, I'm with Will. I fully support the second offense for this. But the fact that in writing they have that it was horizontally pictured is just the only question mark that I have. That I don't know how long we can just go ahead.
I agree it's only a question mark. Again, I agree with Will, too. It comes down to math. And you have to go from the ID. You're not going to go from the appearance unless, for some reason, you tried to get the person to look older. And I don't believe what you just described to me is any abnormal dress code for, I mean, that's pretty standard for a 19-year-old to go in like that.
Yes, sir.
So that's a pretty standard dress code for a teenager or that age group. So the promise ring, I give no credence to that. So, I mean, it does come down to math. And when it's basically, that's what every facility has to come down to the majority of the time. So.
And I can get those photos ASAP, and if there's an email or something to email to if you want me to email to you, if we can provide that here shortly, I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, does anyone see a need to delay a vote? Do they need to? Paul.
The only thing I would say is I think we need to be consistent with what we've done in the past. And I know that, that word "and," $1,500 and 30 days, I know in fact that we've waived the 30 days in the past. And
That's a state statute. And so my read of that is that the code says "and." It says "shall" and it says "and." And so my read of the state code is that the penalty is 30 days and the fine. It can be waived on a first violation, but it can't be waived on the second one.
okay.
So on the first, clarification, on the first violation, what can be waived?
The suspension can be waived.
Okay, on the first violation.
30, and that could have been what I'm thinking too.
Okay.
I don't think there was a suspension on the first violation. I thought it was just a fine.
Yeah.
It's just a $500 fine.
If you don't pay that fine, you get a suspension.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It's
Do you
either
want me to read
a
that
fine
code
or
for
a
you?
suspension.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, the council?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right.
I'm
thank
not
you.
sure, again, I got a curiosity about the horizontal versus the vertical, but I'm not sure it affects how I would vote on this. So I think it comes down to a math situation and improper ID situation, so
Yeah, I agree. Okay, thank
I'll
you.
still obtain that if that comes up, so.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so having heard from the sergeant and from Rachel on behalf of Chibo, anything else up here before we vote?
Oh, we're just doing the hearing, aren't we?
Or that's right. Anything else on the hearing? Any other questions of anyone? No? Okay. Close the hearing and move to item 2.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27165, assessing a civil penalty in the amount of $1,500 and a 30-day suspension of the liquor license for Chibo Fusion, Rachel Sutcliffe, 365 Marion Boulevard.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Will. Final thoughts?
I'll just say again, and kind of what Paul said, I mean, stick with one way and not deviate and set a precedent that is what we're going to do, so.
It doesn't sound like we can set a precedent.
True.
Given what our city attorney just
Well, I
advised.
guess we could. I mean, in the hearing, we could.
Home rule.
But I mean, it's black. Like I said, it's black and white in my mind. You just
Yeah,
have a
this is,
reminder.
the state controls the penalties for this
Right.
one, so we don't have an option to say we don't like the state's penalties.
Right.
If there was an or there, we certainly could.
Yeah,
Or
and
if
I
they
would, yeah.
If they said may impose, but it says shall impose, and it says the civil penalty and a 30-day suspension.
And I think that's unfortunate because I would probably show some leniency, but if we don't have the option, then we'll go according to the law.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel like this is a safety issue, what it comes down to, and so safety's always first in my mind as well. So, okay, so all those in favor of resolution number 27165, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Paul, are you opposed?
No,
Oh.
that was thumbs.
Oh, thumbs up.
I can't
Okay.
talk really.
And abstentions?
One abstention.
Mayor's abstaining. Okay. Okay, I'll relinquish the gavel back to the mayor. Your Honor, I would move resolution number 27166, approving the city manager pay for performance for FY 17-18.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27166, approving the city manager pay for performance for fiscal year 17-18. Discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27167, authorizing deferred compensation agreement. Joe Pearson.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27167, authorizing deferred compensation agreement for Joe Pearson. Discussion.
Can we just get some background on this since this was just added to the agenda and was not on the agenda for Tuesday?
Amanda? could do it.
Yeah, so from when staff make any changes to deferred compensation coming out of their paychecks, it just needs to go through council, so it's just a procedural item.
Okay, so,
So she was just making a change to her deferred compensation.
okay.
Why does that need to come through council
Yeah.
if it's a policy? Like, why does it affect cost to the city? Is that why we have to approve it?
You know, I can look into that. I couldn't answer that right now for you, but that's a good question.
Okay. Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Maybe
since
the
I'm
city
sure this
attorney
isn't
knows.
the last one.
You know?
Sorry, I was looking at something from the last part. What was the question? I apologize.
Is there a reason why council needs to approve deferred compensation? Is it because there's a additional cost to the city by doing so, or why does it need a formal approval?
That I'm actually not sure. I can check on that and let you guys know at the next meeting or send an email. I've never been asked that before.
Yeah. The city doesn't provide any match for deferred compensation, so it wouldn't require any additional match in that regard. So it wouldn't cause any additional cost to the city, but there might be a reason why it would need to go through resolution. So
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Okay.
Seems odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Everyone okay voting on it?
Yep.
All right. All those in favor of resolution number 27167, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding establishing access fees on 2184 Echo Hill Road related to Echo Ridge Estates. Public hearing is open. Mike, do you just want to summarize this, or?
Yeah, once the projector gets up there, but basically this is the area that is north of Echo Hill Road, west of Albernet Road. There's a small farmstead that was inside the subdivision. It's the area with the red line, and so as per city policy, we improved Echo Hill Road as part of the subdivision so that we don't have half a street improved and then go to a old rural cross-section. And then through that, we then have an access fee that is established for when that area finally does develop or refinal plats. And then we assess a lineal foot frontage fee for that property. The total amount that the Boyle property would have to pay is $31,749.21. And Darren Andreessen has reached out and spoken with them, so they know that this is on the books.
Okay. And that's assessed at the time that, just for everyone's knowledge, at the time that the property's platted and a final plat is
Yeah, so if
approved?
they finally decide to redevelop, I mean, if it stays how it is today, then they won't be assessed that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone here to speak in opposition of this measure? Okay. Public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-26, establishing access fees on 2184 Echo Hill Road related to Echo Ridge Estates. This is the initial consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-26, establishing access fees on 2184 Echo Hill Road related to Echo Ridge Estates. Initial consideration. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Get the next one too. Oh, I'm sorry. The public hearing, another public hearing regarding establishing access fees on 35th Avenue related to Briargate 6th Edition. Public hearing is now open.
So similar thing, this is 35th Avenue. Basically, the land to the south of 35th Avenue, we had them build the full street. And so if and when the development to the north occurs with that existing farm field, then they have to pay for their half of the street. In this case, it's the Ernzen land. It's $185,346.84. That'll be split out amongst the lineal foot. So if they do it in sections, they can pay for it as they develop.
Okay. And they are aware of this also?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone in opposition? Please come forward. Okay. The public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 18-27 regarding establishing access fees on 35th Avenue related to the Briargate 6th Edition, and this is the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-27, establishing access fees on 35th Avenue related to Briargate 6th Edition. Initial consideration. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move that we approve ordinance number 18-23, amending Chapter 100A of the Code of Ordinances regarding amendment of access fees for ordinance number 13-03, 100A.05, Tower Terrace Road District, second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-23, second consideration, which is amending Chapter 100A of the Code of Ordinances regarding amendment of the access fees for Tower Terrace Road District. Discussion? We went through this on Tuesday, but does anybody have questions or?
No.
Okay. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. We have another public hearing regarding the 668 7th Avenue parking lot project. The public hearing is now open. Yes.
So this is a project as part of the 7th and 7th roundabout. This is a part of an MOU that was with Chuck Kent to make an access point from his alley to his parking lot. We did receive 4 bids for this project, with the low bid from Eastern Iowa Excavating for $29,173.90. It was a little higher than the engineer's estimate. The completion date is 5/31/19 with liquidated damages of $300 per day. And again, this is per the MOU dated 2/5/15 between Chuck Kent and the City Council.
It's city property.
It is city property. There is a portion of the leftover lot that we purchased will be deeded over to him as part of that agreement too, because we bought this access from him that you can see is no longer there because it's in the middle of the roundabout.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone in opposition, please come forward. Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Your Honor, make a motion to approve resolution number 27168, accepting bids and awarding contract to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete LLC regarding the 668 7th Avenue parking lot project in the amount of $29,073.90.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27168, accepting bids and awarding contract to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete regarding 668 7th Avenue parking lot project in the amount of $29,073.90. Discussion.
Tuesday when we talked about this, Mike, could you go back to that picture?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the current owner and who's going to, do snow removal and all of that stuff. And it sounds like it's worked out with this owner, but we don't know what happens if the property flips. Is there a way to put it all on that property owner and future property owners so that the city can kind of wipe its hands of this, or protecting the city in terms of upkeep in the future with a different tenant or owner?
It's something we can visit with him about. It would have to be a separate motion. They're two separate things, but yeah, we can address it and see. We'll have to meet with legal and parks, and there's many entities, so we'll have to work through that.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's super minor, I don't want to put staff's time through it. It just seems like this is kind of an anomaly and something that, while we're discussing it, we should determine if, control should be established from the start, and then we know whose it is going forward and not have to deal with something in 10 or 20 years down the road. I don't know.
The other hand, we're fulfilling a promise to Chuck Kent that this would be done, so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to go back on anything. I'm just trying to, I
And
thought,
he may be interested in buying inside that loop.
yeah, perhaps that's the conversation that needs to happen, just so we can kind of put a bow on it and know. I just think there are some question marks on some stuff, but, okay. Had to ask.
Go ahead.
One question I would have, if Chuck were to be interested in asking the city to vacate that alley behind him, would that include some of that new driveway, or are those two separate pieces that we would have to address? So is this new part going to be called an alley? Or, so if he asked to vacate the alley, does that include the east-west part plus this new curvature?
I think we'd consider that more of a frontage road than an alley, but I mean.
How do you consider it a frontage road when it connects an alley to a parking lot?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it a little more closely. I mean, so the question is whether try to vacate it all, so it's just all under one, is that the?
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth the conversation. I mean, we can talk through that. I know the owner to the north is making improvements in that property and has a driveway and access to it. I know they use it
Oh, okay.
pretty substantially. So
Right.
he'll want it as well. So
Got it.
I think I think it'd be tough for us to vacate it and their easements established. So, yeah.
So I guess I'm a little confused then. What are we selling or deeding over to Chuck?
So the parcel that I'm going to say is the green parcel, the original lot. The westerly 20 feet of it, we are deeding over to him.
Okay, I thought my understanding was that we were deeding over that plus the.
No, it's basically so that if you wanted to, you could do an addition of the building.
Okay. I thought it was just going to be his access and it was going to be part of his parking lot. That was my understanding of the whole thing. So I see where you're coming from now.
It's
Yeah.
totally,
Okay.
it's not pretty.
And
It's an odd piece.
I'll take a little bit of responsibility for the madness that this is, to be honest. This was all done as a part of the corridor project before the roundabout was constructed. And so if you recall, there was a building there, and it housed the, there was a tanning salon.
Yeah,
and
tanning salon.
another building. And so when we started entering the negotiations on acquisitions and easements and parcels, this is one of the things that kind of came through that process. So looking back, that was several years ago. It's right now, you ask a lot of questions about it, but at the time we were just trying to get the property acquired. So I think if I'm recalling correctly, and I may be incorrect on this, that Chuck, he actually didn't want all of it. He just wanted to ensure that in the future, if he added an additional rep, that he would have the ability to add on to his building. Because clearly, if he added all the way over, he has the obligation to maintain all of the property, and then he has the taxes payable and all. And he very cognizant of that issue, and he was like, I don't want all of it, because you can imagine we were sitting in the office saying, we really don't want 30 feet, but that's what we had to do to get the project to move forward. So maybe a little loose on some of that, but that's what I'm recalling as we sit here today. So that's why there's that kind of the strange parcel in there.
Any other discussion?
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
He still wants this access.
Yes, we met with him and asked him if he would rather take cash or something else, and he wants this access. He has some clients that don't like to drive through the roundabout and want to access the property this way.
Further discussion?
Well,
I-
go ahead.
I was just going to say that maybe we should figure out if we want them to, like what you brought up, if we want them to look into
Well,
what needs to be done with it.
I don't want the gentleman to feel like we're not going to fulfill what we signed to in 2015. I'm not trying to shirk that, so I don't know if it would be easier to clean it up before we would take this vote or not, because I would like to clean it up to the degree it could be. I don't know enough about it to understand. I want to hold this up.
I think we're obligated to do what we're doing. And what you're talking about is a separate action.
After the fact. Okay.
Yes.
Totally fine.
And I think we can move forward. From the cleanup perspective, you're indicating the deeding of the property and the plan. Yeah, what I would like to do, Mike's heard me talk about this numerous times, is when we do the cleanup of the right-of-way in the roundabout, if you look at it on the plat map or in the GIS, all the lots are still there, and we may own them, but they're not consistent with the right-of-way that we have. So there's lots that are shown through the roundabout still. We just need to go back and clean up the platting of it. It's not uncommon for us to do that when we acquire a bunch of parcels and then put it together. So when we do that, we'll have a surveyor on site, and they can create a plat of survey that we can then push over. So that would be the
totally
plan.
Separate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds like that would totally take care of it then. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27168, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, and discuss draft for 525 11th Street Conditions Report, and this is from Martin Gardner Architecture.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file the draft report from Martin Gardner Architecture for 525 11th Street. Probably a better way to word it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of receiving and filing the draft report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27169, accepting bids and awarding contract to Rachi Construction Company regarding the 520 12th Street property disposal project in the amount of $16,800.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27169, accepting bids and awarding contract to Rachi Construction Company regarding the 520 12th Street property disposal project in the amount of $16,800. Discussion.
I guess I have a question.
Go ahead.
Was this house, was that ever looked at by the historical system, conservation, whatever that committee's called? I can't think of it right now, sorry.
Historical preservation.
Thank you, that one.
No, it was not.
Okay.
I guess my opinion is that we should have looked at it. I know people think it's insignificant. If there's no immediate project for the site, why create a foregone conclusion and tear it down when, when we don't have a definite project for the site. So that's my position on it. So further discussion.
Would you rather, well, is there a way, I see what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, but is there a way to, if you accept the bid but put it in there that it doesn't get knocked down until there's an actual project, and then,
I don't know what that
It
does
could-
to the bid. The bid might be a
We would have-
time-sensitive thing.
We would have to throw the bids, either you accept the bids or you reject them all, and then we would rebid it.
then
if
you just
that's-
rebid it.
Yep.
Didn't fire go through this building already? Did y'all do this one?
I know fire's been,
Is wrong with that thing?
No, we did not use this one. I believe the police department may have, though, on this one.
I know they boarded it up.
I thought I saw fire department there the other day. No?
No.
There was a truck sitting out in front of it.
I think you
hoses
guys
getting
might have
blown.
done just some body carries in it, where you had the,
Oh, yeah, we were just doing body carries. We didn't do anything to the building.
Okay.
I mean, is there anybody here who can provide us any history on this house?
It's yet another brick house that needs to be looked at. I agree with the mayor.
Do we know the time of construction, Paul?
I believe it to be painted brick. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's brick, and it's painted.
Painted.
Oh, when it was
For
built?
the time?
Yeah,
The
time
year.
frame
He's
and when it
asking
was
for the
built.
year.
I'm sorry.
According to the, we have a booklet that inventories all the brick houses. Would be in 1860 to 70 is what they listed at.
Yeah, my comments about this house is I have walked around it. The one at 525 11th Street, I did go inside and did a more in-depth look at that one. This one, I just simply walked around the outside. My comment would be that from the standpoint that at this point in time, we do not know yet what we're going to do with the parkade. And there's a potential that if the parkade is a half block or two-thirds of a block and it runs east-west, then at this time, there's no benefit nor reason to demolish this except for the fact that, people may try to get inside it or do something, but the house next to it or that duplex, whatever, the apartment complex, I'm ready to, at the appropriate time, take that one down. But this one here, if we're not going to start the parkade this year, then we've got time to maybe have the Historical Society look at this one.
I have a couple questions. So it seems to me, and I've never served on a historical preservation society, but that if these things are coming up, we would hear from them well before tonight, before we're voting, before we even got bids, because that obviously took time to do. So it makes me wonder if there's really any, other than the year it was constructed, I mean, was, President born in here or some, you know what I mean? So that's a question I have, like what triggers them? Are they just reactive? Do we have to push things to them, or is there some mechanism by which, okay. Is there a cost to the city of leaving it? I thought someone mentioned squatters in there.
That's why we boarded it up. We were having people that were going into it, and so that's why we boarded it up, because we couldn't secure it. I don't know if we're still paying a utility bill, but if it's still hooked up to utilities, we're paying a monthly utility bill, and it's just continuing to degrade as it sits there.
Well, that was my other question. If we leave it until we know what's going to happen on that block, what costs do we have? So possible utilities, is there any other?
Mowing, that stuff.
No, and then if squatters get back in, are we liable if something happens?
I will defer to legal.
That would be.
I don't know what our insurance policy says, but if we do not take the proper precautions to secure it, then yes, we would be liable.
We've done that, right? We've now secured it?
We've put, it doesn't mean that we don't have to continue to go over there and spend staff time to put the plywood up and stuff, but right now it is secure.
We would also run the risk of being in violation of our own municipal code for infractions, depending on how far this would deteriorate. In general, we don't like properties to sit abandoned and not taken care of. So if there is maintenance that would need to occur, we would be required to do so.
And just leaving a plywood or whatever across the door is not acceptable either.
What, right, from our nuisance
if we leave it,
standpoint. And then the neighbors who live with the boarded up house across the street. I don't know.
Your Honor, I would be glad to, if we table this, bring a full historical background of that building to the next meeting.
Other discussion?
Yeah, I'd have the same sense as Paul. I don't see any reason why we're in a super hurry. We got enough time if we're going to make a decision not to do anything with it, that we can still accept the bid, and there's plenty of time by the end of the year to get it leveled and demolished. I'd be fine waiting another couple of weeks to make a decision on this particular one, to give the appropriate parties time to look at it and then make a decision.
So, Mike, could you find out how long the expiration is before the bid?
Yeah, we'll contact the contractor on it, but typically you have 30 days from the time of bid to act on it if it's done by legal code. So we'll have to look at it depending on how quickly the Historic Preservation Committee can get to it. It might be something where we still have to reject the bids if you guys don't get it within the 30 days, and we'll just have to rebid it.
So I'm not in a hurry to tear it down. I'm happy for Paul to illuminate us on the history of 520 12th Street. But in general, I feel like some kind of mechanism needs to be in place for the Historical Preservation Society to be a little more proactive on these. And nothing on them. I think that it's a, I don't know. But anyway, it seems like it'd be a good mechanism since this is starting to come up more with uptown development.
Yeah, I would agree that that information should be in front of us today or last week, not next month. But should I make a motion?
It's up to you.
I'd make a motion to table resolution number 27169.
Second.
been moved and seconded to table resolution 27169. Discussion on the motion to table. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to table resolution number 27169, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. All right, the motion is approved. So then, that makes 10 a moot item, is that correct? Mr.
The
Engineer?
one goes with the other. I don't know if technically you need to table both of them.
Do we need a
Okay.
motion?
You would need to make a motion to table them, but
We're on 10.
what?
For item number 10, though, can they even read it if number 9 was tabled?
I don't think that makes any sense to.
Right?
I think we've dropped it before.
Yeah.
So, we will
You could
just,
remove it from the agenda.
does that take a vote, or how is that? Is that a motion and a vote, or we just remove it from the agenda?
You can just remove it from the agenda.
Is there a consensus to remove number 10 from the agenda
Yep.
Yes.
for the time being? Okay. So we are removing number 10 from the agenda. Okay, I will again turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem.
We're on 11.
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion to approve resolution 27171, approving addendum number 1 to the memorandum of agreement regarding the installation of Tower Terrace Road, phase, what is that? 6, thank you. Morriswood Enterprises. I haven't been in school for a while.
Second?
Motion by Will and a second by Steve. Any discussion? Mike?
I did add a picture this time so you guys can see what's going on. You can see Brookside and Indian Creek Road used to have an intersection here that was a T. And so basically they're bringing Brookside and tying it into the subdivision instead of just teeing it in like they would have if they just tied into it, and then we would have had 2 intersections that were offset. We prefer not to have offset intersections. We like to have them lined up. In addition to that, you can see the trail here that's highlighted in green that they're building. And then coming up here, and then they're removing Old Indian Creek Road. They're removing the east half of it, and that's going to become a trail. And then over here on Lucor Road, then they're bringing that and connecting it to the existing trail that at the time it was 35th Street that we've renamed to Lucor. And so it makes a nice connection with another trail in there as part of this project. So we had an original MOA with the developer. Now we're just modifying that so they can make those improvements as part of the project since they have the crews and the equipment out there doing it. So it is an addendum of $154,138.
Any questions or discussion?
So this was going to be done by someone else, but since they're doing the other part, was that the original idea?
Well, originally they were going to do something like, you can see it's in red, it's hard to see, but they could have just tied that in to Indian Creek, and instead of that, we had them tie into Brookside because we didn't want another intersection at Tower Terrace. And so with them working with us, again, with them having a contractor there, they can just do it as part of their improvement
So
project.
the original agreement was just to do the red only?
Yep.
Okay.
What's the timeline?
It's actually already under construction.
So done this year?
Depends on his paving contractor.
Okay. Anything
No
else?
rain.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27171, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
And those abstaining. Okay.
Oh, yes.
It didn't pass.
No, I guess because the extension, it fails. Okay,
Yeah.
motion fails. So now what?
Next item.
Well, okay, but so is it back to the red thing? Does that, I mean,
We'll have to bring it.
Okay, you
We'll have
gotta-
to have a conversation. So.
oh, that's fair.
I-
Okay.
My consistency is closing Indian Creek Road. I've been opposed to it since we started, and I'm still going to be there forever, so.
Okay. Okay, moving on to community development.
Okay.
Steve?
Yep. Next, make a motion to approve resolution number 27172, approving a final plat and memorandum of agreement for Gemstone Estates, 5th edition, for property located west of Lucor Road and north of Tower Terrace Road. This is the Morris Wood Enterprises LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Will. No picture? Mike? Anybody?
did you
Or
want-
Tom? No, I was just used to, I keep looking up. Does anybody have any questions, or is there any discussion around this?
Oh, just show you. That's the plat, I guess, but.
Okay,
Nope.
seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please signify by saying no. And those abstaining.
Abstaining.
Next, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27173, approving a final plat and memorandum of agreement for Marion Enterprise Center, 8th edition, for property located at 6300 block of Partners Avenue, and this is by J&JM Investments LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Will. Any discussion? And we had looked at these Tuesday, so.
Okay.
Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying no. And those abstaining.
Aye.
Okay, I relinquish the gavel back to the mayor. Your Honor, I move that we approve resolution number 27174, approving a final plat and memorandum of agreement for Country Club Estates, 13th edition, for property located east of Irish Drive and north of Tower Terrace Road, CCE LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27174, approving a final plat and memorandum of agreement for Country Club Estates, 13th edition, property located east of Irish Drive and north of Tower Terrace Road. Discussion.
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
If I could just, I just wanted to let the council know. So if you think about the development that's occurred out there south of Lau Park and west of, I'm going to say that I can't think of the Shady Oak neighborhood. So that area has been under development for quite some time. There's one row of residential being proposed with the Gill plat, but this final plat will close out that quadrant of development in the area. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. It's been a high growth area for us, and this is a 44-lot single-family final plat, and that's a substantial final plat. So, you know, that western quadrant has seen a lot of growth, and 44 lots will, I mean, it's going quick. So when you think about that area and the development, that the only area that we see growing that way now is way up by Echo Hill Road. So just kind of pointing out the growth pattern out there. So.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27174, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a public hearing on the proposed vacation of a portion of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6, 7, and 8 in Block 20 of the original town of Marion. Public hearing is now open. Do you have a short?
Yes, Your Honor. There is a request of the applicant to have the public hearing continued to the next meeting to allow time for him to speak on that, both this and the next public hearing.
So we're not. Are we taking comments today? We can take comments and then just leave it open?
Yeah, I just wanted, before you get too far along, to there has been a request to continue the public hearing for both of them.
Is that done by motion, or we just don't close it? How does that?
I think it just continue.
Yeah, you just don't have to close it. You can leave it open for the next
Okay.
hearing.
Okay. And is this? Can we ask questions at this time too? Okay. Well, first let's see if there's anybody here to speak in favor of this measure. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay. So my question is, what the policy for vacating alleys? And so, as I understand this, and I could be understanding it incorrectly, but the proposal is to vacate this alley and then sell it to one adjacent owner?
Correct.
Don't we just normally split between the two adjacent properties?
Correct.
Or have they agreed that only one is going to buy it?
I believe both, it's owned by the same person.
Well, I think they're two separate entities legally, or I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that would generally be how it's done. So one is offered a first right of refusal. In this situation, though, I think we've just been dealing with Mr. Draper. I think there's legal interest in both, my understanding, so.
Okay.
If something, I can ask that question, and as there will be no action, I can see if there's need to follow up on that.
Okay, so now we move to the next public hearing on the disposition of public property described as the south 120 feet of the 10-foot wide north-south alley between lots 6, 7, and 8 in Block 20 of the original town of Marion. Public hearing is open. Anyone here to speak in favor of the measure? Anyone in opposition? Okay.
Yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem?
just a question. I don't think we've seen a picture of this one, because this came up before, but then I don't know, but I know where it is, but I just think when we have a public hearing for the benefit of people who might want to speak or ask a question, we should put that up. That was my only comment.
Okay. That's a good point.
Thank you.
So the alley that's proposed to be vacated is identified in the red. And I do believe that, Mayor, that you were correct in that there is the portion north of Mr. Draper's property here is owned by another entity. So they would have their opportunity to purchase their proportionate share of that alleyway. And I believe I'd have to verify it, but I don't see where they are requesting to purchase their proportionate share.
No.
And Tom, this is something that anyone in a certain radius is notified? Do we do that for this type of situation? I know we do with zonings and that kind of thing, but how would people on that block know this is happening? Do they get noticed, or?
Yes, there's a
Okay.
notice requirement.
Just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yep.
It's good to bring that out. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so we're continuing this hearing also. Moving on then to number 6.
Number 6, is that what you said?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-20, approving the revision of Chapter 176.06, Rules and Definitions of Marion Code of Ordinances. Final consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-20, approving the revision of Chapter 176.06, Rules and Definitions of the Marion Code of Ordinances. Final consideration. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-21, approving the revision of Chapter 176.33, nonconforming uses, buildings, and structures of the Marion Code of Ordinances. This is the final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 18-21, approving the revision of Chapter 176.33, nonconforming uses, buildings, and structures. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-22, approving the revision of Chapter 176.04, establishment of districts and map, and the creation of Chapter 176.51, new zoning, district classifications, and this is the final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 18-22, approving the revision of Chapter 176.04, establishment of districts and map, and the creation of Chapter 176.51, new zoning district classifications. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. And the motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 18-24, approving a rezone from rural restricted A1 to medium density single-family residential R2 and general commercial C3 and rural restricted A1 to office transitional O1 for property between Alburnett Road and Irish Drive north and south of Tower Terrace Road. Gill Green, and this is the final consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 18-24, approving a rezoning from rural restricted A1 to medium-density single-family residential R2 and general commercial C3, and rural restricted A1 to office transitional O1 district for property between Alburnett Road, Irish Drive, north and south of Tower Terrace Road. This is the final consideration of this ordinance. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of this ordinance, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved, and
Okay.
okay, I'm going to turn over the gavel again.
Okay. Item number 10, please, Will.
Yes, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27175, approving the Tower Terrace Commercial Edition preliminary plat for property between Alburnett Road and Irish Drive north of Tower Terrace Road, Gill Green.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Will and a second by Steve. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27175, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, signify by saying no. And abstentions.
Abstaining?
Okay.
Aye.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27176, approving plat of survey number 2284 for property between Alburnett Road and Irish Drive north of Tower Terrace Road. This is the Gill Green property.
Second.
Okay, again, a motion by Steve and a second by Will. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27176, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no. And any abstentions?
Abstaining.
Okay.
And then, see if he'll do number 14.
We're going to jump to number 14
Sure.
real quick, just for efficiency.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 27179, approving an encroachment agreement for the construction of parking spaces within the Lindale Drive right-of-way associated with the Collins Road reconstruction project for 130 Collins Road located east of Lindale Drive and north of Collins Road. Chapocas Army Building LLC.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Will and a second by Steve. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of resolution number 27179, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no. And anyone abstaining.
Aye.
Okay, I'll relinquish the gavel back to the mayor.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27177, approving the Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay Review for a multi-tenant commercial property located at 2931 7th Avenue, and this is brought by Culver Enterprises, LLC.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27177, approving the Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay Review for a multi-tenant commercial property located at 2931 7th Avenue. Discussion?
I just have one, just out
Go
of
ahead.
curiosity, the time frame on this.
Developers in the audience, I believe. But they're wanting to, I think if they could open tomorrow, they'd be very happy. But they are planning to construct as soon as possible. But I don't know if he had any questions
I
on
would
it.
assume then spring opening.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I want to just comment, it's not up right now, but when we looked at it Tuesday, I think it's an exciting project. It's a good fit right next to the hotel, and I think it's nice looking. It has a lot of different textures and
Yeah, I would like to just say thank you to the developer. I understand that the staff asked for some changes and upgrades, and that, and I would hope that we can continue to do that, and that anyone who's involved in a development, especially in the corridor or anywhere in the city, would always want to give Marion their best, and especially in the corridor. This corridor is the Central Corridor is redeveloping, and we get one chance to do this. I certainly would be appreciative and grateful, and I think all of us would be, in the city as a whole would be grateful for people looking at not only their own business interests, which is natural, and why they're doing it, but also look out for the interests of the city at the same time, and make sure that the city is getting something they can be proud of, and that we can all point to and say, this was a worthwhile project, and it's improving the curb appeal of the city, and giving us all adding value to the city. So it's always appreciated when a developer is willing to work with the staff, and when the staff is willing to ask those tough questions and to ask for more and better. So again, our motto is reach higher, so we want to continue reaching higher. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the resolution number 27177, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move that we approve resolution number 27178, approving an easement vacation and reestablishment of a new public access easement through property located at 1392 Twixtown Road, associated with the Collins Road Reconstruction Project, Collins Square LLC.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27178, approving an easement vacation and reestablishment of a new public access easement through property located at 1392 Twixtown Road, associated with the Collins Road Reconstruction Project. Discussion? Go ahead.
I didn't discuss this on Tuesday. Did everybody understand that traffic flow? I think we've all been through the intersection and under. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody.
It's fine if you want to.
Well,
make sure everybody.
Like pictures.
Sure, and I'm sure.
I'm a visual learner.
I'm sure people here are also.
well, I know people have probably been very frustrated with the construction and that's going on Collins Road, but with Lindale or the former. So this is Twixtown Road. Let's just say Michaels is right here. How's that? That works for location. There's an intersection here, four-way, that goes into Michaels' parking lot. And that's always been a difficult and very congested area. Well, with this portion of the roadway is going away, and so the public access will actually be through the shopping center, and so the public access will be through one of the rows of the parking lot, and it will be a little offset. If you've driven out there where you go down towards PetSmart, you got to pop down and then go through, and then you come out on Lindell Drive, where we approved the encroachments for some of the parking spaces. The city limits line out here is real goofy as well. I don't know how other to explain it except that it's really goofy. So the Cedar Rapids did a lot of the work on this and worked with the property owners to reestablish things, and so we're left kind of working with Cedar Rapids on some of the agreements they made with property owners. So there'll also be in the future likely a dedication of some right-of-way to us that I believe Cedar Rapids bought from folks. I think you may be aware of that through some correspondence already, but we'll be working through that process as well. On the Chipocas deal, which we just approved on the encroachments, like the north, I don't know, it's about 20 feet of that is in Marion, but the south remaining, which is probably 80 feet, is all in Cedar Rapids. So we're just trying to make sure that the property owners are taken care of and we're all working together in the same direction. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of let you know what that was all about and the response that we've had kind of as we move it forward. So do you have any questions on that?
You have a question?
Yeah, so I actually drove through there today. It's not pretty, but I realize it's because of what's going on. Are they going to realign any of the parking spaces? Because people are just cutting diagonally through, and there's speed bumps, and then Michael's has a stop sign, and it's an accident waiting to happen unless they're already happening.
The easement was secured as a part of as part of the condemnation, so they actually acquired the easement through there, and so the negotiations on removing one and adding the other have been completed. In the documents, though, they would realign that in the event the property is redeveloped. I'd like to say that we will track this to the nth degree, but that's a difficult, I mean, it could be 20 years before that happens, but it should be recorded in their abstract, and when a title opinion's done, that should come forward from whoever's doing it, I would think. And so that would be a requirement that would be placed on the property owner under redevelopment circumstances. So I know it's not a great answer, but that's where it went. So
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, to follow up on her question, I mean, with the way that's being designed and laid out there, and with this easement, there's going to be a lot more traffic flow right there. So what options do we have to slow it down, to control it, so we minimize the number of potential accidents? And there's a lot of people. I mean, you got the Michaels, you got the theater right there. I mean, there's a lot of walking.
Public roads.
Correct. So that's
I understand, but what can we do?
And we have limited opportunity in the public easement portion of it. Really, the public easement is to ensure that the public can get through the property and that we can safely maneuver for police, fire, and just general access. But I'm going to go out on a limb and think that the owners of that property are going to figure out that this probably isn't going to work the greatest. But they negotiated with, so there was a negotiation between the city of Cedar Rapids and them on a sale of property and new realignment. So we were not a part of that, so we kind of came in at a later time.
Renee's right.
Similar happened with the Chipocas.
Yeah, it is.
The Chipocas deal too. We came in the end of it, so there's a lot of things going on that we're, weren't a party to the beginning, and it's like, hey, this is what's going on. So, anyway.
Okay. We haven't voted on this, have we? Okay. Any other discussion on Resolution 27178? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27178, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a section of our agenda set aside for any public comments. Anyone who's here to address the council on any issue is welcome to come forward at this time. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to council discussion. Will?
I'll just remind everyone, next weekend is the Swamp Box Festival, starting Friday, 28th. So look for, you go on the website, you can find all the city's website, you can find all the activities. Right outside here, I think there's the brochures, the event guides on the table right when you walk out, so you can grab an event guide too and find out what's all going on, and hopefully everyone can attend because it's always fun.
Renee?
Yes, three things. First, I'd like to thank Nick Glue and Medco for the bus tour. That was great. It's always neat to see what's going on and to get inside of the buildings and see. I actually wish we were in Ecolips and it smelled so good in there, and I was like, can't we pump this out? You know how Cedar Rapids has a smell? I won't say anything beyond that. I wish Marion could have the smell of, like, there was hibiscus and vanilla, and so anyway, and then we got to go into the hotel and visit a few other places, but it's really neat that we're still small enough that we can do that and drive by, and we got to look in the senior living facility on Alburnett, and anyway, there's just a lot of really cool things going on, and I love this tradition that's been started. So that was cool. Second, just a thank you to Marion Police Department for stepping up surveillance on Alburnett and Barrington. I've personally gotten a lot of correspondence, and I appreciate the answer to that. I've seen y'all out there. Then we've gotten feedback about y'all being out there, and you've been very responsive. So thank you to that with the speed limit change and requests for changes. It's been important. And then the third is just a request, and I'm one person, but I hope somebody else wants this as well, and that is, I would love it if we could have some kind of dashboard. That's just the word that comes to mind. We've been talking about a lot of big projects, obviously the Y, and then there's the library, and then there's the Public Works facility and Fire Station 3, and you name it, and it's great to get the reports and the updates, but it'd be nice to have some kind of place where we can have a timeline, money, and a project, so that when we're making decisions, we're not looking at everything in separate buckets, and we can kind of consider these competing priorities. And so I'm just putting it out there that I think it'd be really helpful, especially with CIP coming up. I don't even know that these projects are in the CIP, and we're making decisions with money related to that. So again, me with pictures and visuals, as I mentioned earlier, I think it would help to help prioritize the overall things that are going on, and then to look at them in terms of the outlay of money that we're being asked to put out, so that we're evaluating based on what comes first, how much money is in the pot, et cetera. So just a suggestion that we could have something like that in addition to the updates and reports that we get, so that things aren't just in a vacuum. At least it'd be helpful for me. Anyway, that's all I have.
Good suggestion.
Thanks.
Steve?
First, I'll just echo Will's comment about the Swamp Fox Festival. Great time. The weather looks like it's going to be coolish around that time. Nothing hot, so that should be an extra large crowd. Activities in the morning in the uptown area, then moving out to Lau Park for the afternoon and evening. Then next Tuesday, I get to go on a police ride-along, so I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Paul?
I'd just like to bring everybody up to health. I'm up here coughing my head off, but I want you all to know I'm not contagious. A week ago, I had surgery, and they put a nerve stimulator in here that's stimulating a nerve to the heart, trying to make me pump more blood. So it goes through the voice box, and every 42 seconds it stimulates. And it could go lower, and it'd be a pain there too. But it's going to be something, and I appreciate the council's patience and the citizens, because there's going to be some things that I'm not going to be able to partake in. But I'm one of 500 nationwide, and the only one that also has a pacemaker defibrillator. So I'm pretty important to them, and I'm hoping they keep me around.
Any pig for years.
Well, I'd like to thank Councilman Draper for making a great effort to come to these meetings, just, considering the issues that he's been going through, and thank God for your well-being, and we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
I'll just add on the festival notes, there likely will not be office hours, council office hours that morning. So, something. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I think the city is going to have a booth at
Yes.
this. Oh, were you going to say? Okay.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, the city's going to have a booth at the market that's going on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I plan to be there for a little while. I'm not going to say the whole time for office hours.
Yeah.
But for a little bit, I'll be there.
We won't be in the library for office hours. Okay, and I'm sure that will be advertised on the website and by social media also. Since the last meeting, just kind of a week in my life, just so people know what I'm up to. I represented the city at a couple receptions, welcoming the new director of the Czech and Slovak Museum, as well as the new president of Kirkwood Community College. Met with the ICR director, which is the Regional Economic Development Organization, regarding how Marion fits into the picture with that organization and getting more involved with that. Last Saturday, I attended an intercultural festival that I was invited to speak at again. And represented the city at the Medco meeting also last week. And we went to the Iowa League of Cities conference, as I've stated at the beginning of the meeting. Constantly meeting with potential people that want to do potential projects in the city, and as well as citizens who have issues. That's just a regular part of my daily calendar, is meeting with people who have questions, have issues on things, or have just problems. And I make visits to their houses to look at the drainage issue or whatever it is that they have, and try to direct them to the proper staff to help them with the issues, to make sure that people are having their needs served and their questions answered. One other thing, if you notice, the Alliant lot on South 11th, where it was the lay-down site for the light poles that Alliant used, has been cleaned up. I had asked Alliant, what can be done about that. So they have cleaned that lot up, and they're not using it as a lay-down site anymore. So we'll continue working with them on further beautifying that entrance to the city. So with that, if there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned. Have a great weekend. Thank you.